Okay, 8:30.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mr. Jay Brandis, and I'm one of the librarians with Troy. As Dr. Waldner said, the session is being recorded, so please do not say anything that you do not want on the record. I am joined today by Dr. Brandon Stewart and Dr. Leora Waldner from the Political Science Department. I'm going to keep an eye on the chat box for us. So if you have questions, you can type them there and I will either answer them or read them out to Dr. Stewart to answer later. I know some questions were sent in ahead of time. Dr. Waldner and I have written up some answers to those, so we're going to actually send out a Word document at the end. So if you asked a question ahead of time when you registered, we're going to have the answers to those already written up, but when Dr. Stewart finishes his presentation, if there's time, we are going to take questions. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Stewart.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you everyone for being here. I'm Professor Brandon Stewart, and I'll be showing you how to find peer-reviewed journal articles. For starters, I just wanted to take a brief minute to explain why it's important, the process of peer review and the role that peer review plays. Peer review is really the best way to ensure that quality research is being produced, right? The process of going through peer review typically ensures that the knowledge that we are accumulating is based on, it has a solid foundation to it. Okay, so it's very important when you're writing research papers, when you're conducting research, that you're relying on peer-reviewed research. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Now, the simplest way for students to access the library search resource that you need is to log into Canvas and click on Student Resources. And this is going to take you to a second page where there's all different types of resources available, but we are focused specifically on the library. So you're going to click on Library, and it's going to take you to a Troy Online Library search, as well as to a database search option. And so to get started, the thing that you really need to know is that there is a scholarly peer-reviewed text limiter box. This box is a very, very important resource in your hunt for peer-reviewed articles. As we'll talk about, it's not a perfect resource, but it is a good start. Let's start by typing in the search conflict in Ukraine. Okay, but we're not going to check the scholarly peer-reviewed limiter box. Let's just type in conflict in Ukraine and do a search. And you will see when this pops up, the more than 19,000 hits came up in this search. Okay, the vast majority of hits are not peer-reviewed. Okay, and this is a lot to sort through if you're trying to figure out, well, what's peer-reviewed and what isn't. So to avoid, this level of searching, if you will, you click the scholarly peer-reviewed limiter box. So we're going to do the same search again. We're searching conflict in Ukraine, but this time checking this very important scholarly peer-reviewed box. And you will see right away that there's a substantially less amount of hits in the search. There's over 3,000 before there were over 19,000, right? But what's important to know is that this is not a perfect eliminator of all non-peer-reviewed resources. There will still be book reviews which are not peer-reviewed. There will still be a lot of hits that just come that still are present, even though you've clicked this peer-reviewed limiter. So it's on you to really make sure and do your due diligence to make sure that you're actually accessing peer-reviewed resources. And the library actually has a very useful guide to peer review that is going to be put into the chat box that gives you some things to consider. Okay, but some things you need to consider when you're looking when you're trying to determine is an article peer-reviewed or not, is article length, right? If it's a 3-page article, odds are it's not peer-reviewed, right? If there's no reference list at the end, odds are it's not a peer-reviewed article. If there's no methodology to the paper, right? It's not a peer-reviewed article. If it's written where virtually anybody can read it and understand it, it's probably not a peer-reviewed article, right? Peer-reviewed articles typically have some type of scientific jargon in them. Academics speaking, use jargony language sometimes. So these are some things you can look for to make sure that you're actually, that will help you determine if an article is peer-reviewed or not. Okay, so let's go back to this search, because you can also use this page, and again, readily accessible from Canvas. You can also search specific databases. And so what you can do is you can scroll down to resources, and let's click databases by subject and alphabetically. Okay, and you will see that an entire range of databases are coming up here. If you click on a specific letter, databases that start with that letter will come up. Let's go to EBSCO databases combined. This is a really large collection of databases that it's a very, very important resource. It says here, I've reached a maximum license of simultaneous users. That's fine. The same general idea, the same general logic occurs here. Okay, you're going to type in your search. We're going to stick, for the sake of simplicity, we're going to stick with conflict in Ukraine. But there, if you'll scroll down, you will see that there's once again a text limiter for scholarly peer-reviewed journals. Okay, so we want to check that. But one thing you may want to try in your hunt for peer-reviewed research is to uncheck the full text limiter box. And the reason you want to do that is because this will help you cast as wide a net as possible. And it will actually help you potentially find some resources that even if Troy doesn't have them, they can get access to them for you through interlibrary loan. Okay, so it may be beneficial to really get the most bang for your buck to uncheck the full text limiter. Of course, you still want to try to limit your search to scholarly peer-reviewed research. But let's go ahead and click search here. And there are the results, and the same rules apply, right? Again, there is no perfect way to eliminate all non-peer-reviewed research. That's just not possible, right? You do have to use your best judgment as well as the resources provided by the library to guide your search. But in a nutshell, that's what I have. That's what I have for you guys.
Thank you very much, Dr. Stewart.
Absolutely.
If people, let's see, Leo has written something. She says interlibrary loan can get you journal articles if Troy's databases don't have it, and it's free. Yet interlibrary loan, we have 2 full-time staff. They work Monday through Friday. Actually, our new ILL guy works on the weekend, so he might get a jump on your ILL. But the sending library usually works during the week. No charge. You just fill it out. Even though we officially tell you a week to 10 days, journal articles, I've gotten some the same day. I'd say expect 2 to 3 days service. Don't leave it till Friday if you need something in the weekend. But if you ask Monday and you've got a paper due the next weekend, the way I like to talk about doing research is, and I was a student, we all were students, even if you're going to leave your paper till a little bit later, get some of that material ahead of time. That way, when you're ready to go, you've got it saved up. Oh, I see questions coming in.
Yes, there's a question from Robert Thomas on how do we find DOI links for articles?
Okay, how to find DOI links to know an article. Okay, I'm going to interpret the question how I want to interpret it. I'm going to interpret it to ask, how do we know if a journal article has a DOI? And there's a LibGuide to exactly that. I am going to take the moment to grab it because I can probably do it pretty quickly. Let's see, LibGuides DOI. You can take the LibGuides on the library homepage. Now, if I can get back to Teams, here I am. I'm going to paste that right in there. So there's a LibGuide that I just sent through chat. Tells you everything that you probably want to know about how to find a DOI. If you're looking for one and you can't find it, that'll tell you what you need to know. Even if you don't grab that link, just go to the library, go to LibGuides, do a search for DOI. There's a whole guide to DOIs. Let's see. I did an interlibrary loan, but how long does the link last for the article? Ah, that's awesome. Okay. What you do is you put in your request, you'll get an email back that says, here's your interlibrary loan, and you can pick up your article straight from your email with a password they give you, or you can log into the ILL system and pick up your article. I'm not sure how long that link works, but I know that when you log into ILL, you can grab the article 5 different times. You should only really need to do it once, get it and save it. So I don't know the answer to the temporary link, but it's going to hang out in your ILL for, you can pick it up 5 times, and there may be a time limit. I'm not sure, but get it as soon as you can. It's the bottom line, and save it.
And we had some of earlier mailing questions. Do you want to feed some of those, such as Google Scholar, maybe, Jay?
Yeah, I'm going to, let me grab my wording for the fact that I'm, well, let me grab that whole document. Okay. So I'm putting words into the thing that says answers to the thing. Now I got to grab the document. Now, how do I attach a document into the chat?
Well, it looks like for this meeting, we can't do that. So folks, if we don't get to your question or we didn't answer a question that you asked in the registration form, we will be sending it out after the webinar with an event survey.
Oh, well, there we go.
So Jay, how do we get, if we find something in Google Scholar, how do we get those articles for free, or Dr. Seward? How do we get those for free if we want to get them through the Troy Library?
Well, on the library homepage under services, there's a link that says interlibrary loan, and you just go through there and you follow directions. You'll pretty much fill out a form, and who are you? What is the information that you're looking for? It'll go into the system and we'll get it back to you. There's also a trick to doing it quicker. And if you look on the library homepage at the top of that discovery box, there's a statement that says, learn how discovery works. And in there, it'll explain to you that you can usually just drop in the title of the article, for example, take off the full text limiter box, because we don't have it full text, or we might not have it full text. If you take that off and you find the article listed, there'll be a link for interlibrary loan. It takes you to the interlibrary loan form, and along the way, it fills in the journal information. So it'll fill in the information about the journal, the pages, the title of the article, all that type of thing. It fills in about 3/4 of the information that you need. You fill in a few more boxes and you push send. Not that it's a competition, but I wanted to see how long it took to do that without rushing. I do it a lot, so I was able to do it under 60 seconds without really rushing. So once you've used ILL a few times, it's really not that bad. The first time you might be like, oh, I'm pulling my hair out. Oh, this is so crazy. You can call me, you can call the library. I can't hold your hand physically, but glad to walk you through it. I've got Teams. I can see your screen. You can see my screen. I'll be glad to walk you along the way.
Jay and Dr. Stewart, we have a question from Robert Thomas. What is JSTOR? Great question, Robert.
Well, JSTOR is a database, and let me say that besides the fact that I love our dean, Chris Schaefer, I would say that even if I didn't, but he got some of our that federal money from the COVID stuff. And we have just about every collection from JSTOR now. We only used to have about half of them. And so he purchased the other ones, not like a lease, like subscribe every year. And then if you don't have any money, you lose it. We bought them. So we have pretty much every JSTOR collection. And what JSTOR does is it specializes in complete runs of journals from the very first issue, not to the very current date. Usually there's a gap of the last few years, but complete runs of journals, almost all scholarly journals. So it's a really good collection, but it's a database like the other databases you can use. You can go in and search it. It is searched when you search the discovery box, but I like to do JSTOR by itself. It's sort of like, yeah, you can go into Walmart and buy tomatoes, but if you go to the farmer's market, they got some better stuff and they got the prime stuff and you can just pick those out.
We are at 8:45, so I will conclude with one more question, if I may. So how many of these journal article databases do we have, Jay?
Well, tick over 250. Depending on the program you're in, you're probably going to use a few dozen. So like Dr. Stewart showed, if you go and you take that menu, the A to Z menu, there's also a drop-down menu in there by degree or by type. So you could click public administration, you could click counseling, and it'll narrow it down for you. You can also go in by type of material. So you could go in by like ebook or by newspaper. So there's a couple ways, but yeah, there's a lot of them. We don't have every database, but we have we get them to suit our program. So we don't have an engineering program, so we don't have things along that line.
Great. Well, we are at 8:45 now, so Jay, I will let you close it out while I stop the recording. And everybody, there is a link in the chat box to give us some feedback on this skills class and let us know what skills class you'd like next in the fall. Jay, take it away.
Dr. Stewart, I really appreciate you being the presenter this evening, and encourage everyone that came to fill out that survey, and we appreciate you coming, and Dr. Waldner for arranging this, and I just wish everybody a very good evening.
Good seeing you, Jay.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
It's amazing what you can actually accomplish in less than 15 minutes.